La 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 la. Oh, 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 oh. Within seconds you stole my attention. Skin so perfect, a golden complexion. More than beautiful, girl, you're a work of art. Oh, 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 yeah. I cannot believe my eyes. Pinch me in my dream and oh my. Did you fall from the skies? I can't see your wings, but girl, you're an angel. Oh, oh, my angel. You're so out of this world. You're hiding your halo. Oh, oh, my angel. Oh, my. Would you be mine? Oh, yeah. I can't see your wings, but girl, you're an angel. Oh, oh, my angel. Oh, oh. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another video, and today's video is going to be a special video, and that is going to be about our first gaming laptop review on Tech Avenue, and that's going to be the Alienware 17R4. And this is going to be a special video because this is going to be the 2017 model that has the new KB Lake processor. Now, I've been gaming on laptops, 17-inch gaming laptops, for over the past 10 years, and I can tell you this is probably the best gaming laptop that I have ever reviewed or used. So, what's special about this laptop is that this uses the 1066 GB version, and what's amazing about that is that the Pascal generation of GPUs from NVIDIA is the full-blown desktop version. Yes, you heard that right. That is the full-blown desktop version. Usually for a laptop, they usually cut down the GPU specs, like the number of CUDA cores and so on, whatnot, and usually dial and clock the clock frequency a lot. But this is the full-blown desktop version, so which means it has the same number of cores as the desktop GTX 1060. Now the only slightly difference is that it's slightly downclocked. Now, however, during gaming, I was able to reach boost clocks over 1800. So that is even higher than the boost clock of the desktop version of GTX 1060s. I'm not saying that you don't get that high boost clock on the desktop version, but it's pretty much on par with the desktop version of GTX 1060s. Now, I've been following the GPU industry for over 20 years, and I've never seen this happen where the desktop version of of a particular model is the same as the laptop version. So, props to NVIDIA for bringing that to the table, and that is actually quite an engineering achievement, and that should be, and NVIDIA should be recognized for that. And the one thing I'm going to be comparing that to is uh, the version from Asus, the G752VT that has the 970M. The rest of the specs for the G752VT is a Core i7-6700HQ, and it has 3 GB of VRAM memory for the 970M, and it has double the RAM, so 16 GB DDR4 versus 8 GB DDR4 on the Alienware 17R4. Now, one major difference between these two laptops is the cooling. And speaking from experience, trust me, the number one aspect you should look when you are buying gaming laptop is the cooling. And since you don't have that huge heat sinks that and huge fans that you have on desktop, cooling should be, in my opinion, the number one priority when you're looking for buying a laptop. So the Alienware 17R4 gets around 80 degrees Celsius under heavy load for the CPU cooling, while the Asus ROG G752VT laptop gets around 90-91 degrees Celsius. So water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. It's only 8 or 9 degrees less than boiling point of water. In some cases, it gets even more than 91 degrees Celsius. So you should be mindful of that. And in terms of GPU temperature, the max I've seen for the Alienware 17R4 is around 68 degrees Celsius. So that's almost desktop level cooling. While on the Asus ROG G752VT, the GPU temperature is around 73 degrees Celsius. So that's not too bad, but the CPU temperature, definitely there's a significant difference. Now, one major difference between these two laptops, and one thing I like about the Alienware 17R4 is that you could upgrade the laptop battery and as well as get access to remove the thermal paste on the GPU and CPU. And for the Asus ROG, removing the laptop battery is going to be extremely hard and difficult. I believe it's built into the laptop, so it's not something that the average Joe can do. So extremely basically it's a non-removable battery, and to get access to the CPU and GPU to to replace thermal paste, that's going to be very difficult. Now the reason I mentioned that is that, speaking from experience, the thermal paste degrades on laptops, so it's not as easy to replace a thermal paste on certain laptops. So that should be a main that's one of the main reasons why the Alienware 17R4 has a major advantage over the G752, is that the thermal paste can be removed. And speaking from experience, I can tell you that over time the thermal paste degrades on gaming laptops, and as well as the battery can be replaced, which is another important thing, because I've seen batteries go down on gaming laptops, and that needs to get replaced if you want to use it for several years. So that's one major key difference between these two laptops. And another major difference is that the Alienware has a technology called the graphics amplifier, which is an external device where you could put an external GPU in the future to where the GPU load will be offloaded to the external graphics card. So in the future, let's say if you get a Volta graphics card or a 1080 Ti to replace your 1060, you could do that with the Alienware 17R4 via their graphics amplifier. You could get NVIDIA's Volta graphics card from in the future when NVIDIA releases that, and you could replace your GTX 1060. And I think that's a major major advantage that the Alienware 17R4 has over the Asus ROG G752VT. So you should be cognizant of that you could do that, while with the Asus ROG G752VT and the Asus ROG laptops in general, you can't do that. You're stuck with the same GPU 5 years down the road. While with the Alienware, you could replace it with an AMD or NVIDIA graphics card. So let's head over to the benchmarks and see how this laptop performs. So first up, we have Firestrike. We have the GTX 1060 with a graphics core of 12,085 and an overall score of 10,132. And with the 970M, we have a graphics score of 7,394 and overall score of 6,401. There's a difference of almost 5,000 in terms of the graphics score. Next up, we have TimeSpy with the GTX 1060 getting an overall score of 3,709 and a graphics score of 3,747. And with the GTX 970M, we have an overall score of 2,410 and a graphics score of 2,294. So almost a difference of 1,500 in terms of the graphics score in favor of the Alienware 17R4. Next up, we have CloudGate with the 1060 getting an overall score of 22,225 and a graphics score of 53,574. And with the 970M, an overall score of 16,351 and a graphics score of 35,146. So there's almost an 18,000 number graphics score difference in favor of the 1060, which is significant. Next up, we have Skydiver with the 1060 getting an overall score of 23,044 and a graphics score of 37,572. And with the 970M getting an overall score of 17,431 and a graphics score of 23,101. So that's almost a discrepancy of 14,000 in terms of the graphics score in favor of the 1060. To begin with, we have Tomb Raider with the GTX 1060 getting 93.5 frames and the 970M with 55.8 frames, so a difference of almost 40 frames with the 1060 beating the 970M. Next up, we have a Metro 2033 with the GTX 1060 getting 58.3 frames, so almost 60 frames, and with the 970M getting 37.14, so almost a difference of 21 frames in favor of the 1060 6GB. Last but not least, we have Metro Last Night Redux, and with 1060 getting 49 frames and the 970M 30 frames, so a difference of almost 20 frames in favor of the GTX 1060 6GB. So what is the relative performance increase when comparing the 1060 6GB with the 7700 HQ versus the 970M with the 6700 HQ that is in the Asus ROG G752 VT? The performance increase is actually 62%. So that's quite a jump from the 970M old generation to the newer 1060 6GB version. So if you could spend, let's say, 10% more or 20% more, an extra $100-$200, getting the 1060 6GB version GPU gaming laptop, you'd get almost 60% more performance increase just by spending maybe 20% more of the older version. So I would definitely recommend you get the 1060 6GB version. Not only does it have twice the memory, it also has asynchronous support on the new Pascal generation, and it also is on the new nanometers, and at least with the Alienware model, the temperature is at least a couple of degrees, 5 degrees or so cooler, and you'll get the new Kaby Lake processor when you get the 7700 HQ version. So I would definitely recommend spending the extra $100-$200, maybe 10-20% more to get the 1060 6GB version with the Alienware 17R4. And another thing you need to be aware of is that newer and newer games are using more and more memory. So the newer Deus Ex, Rise of the Tomb Raider, they require more than 4GB, as well as the new Doom game requires more than 4GB when you want to max it out. So getting 6GB is definitely going to be much more future-proof than getting the 970M 3GB version. So you'll be able to use it for the next couple of years without a doubt. So if you have the choice of getting a new laptop, I would definitely recommend getting the 1060 6GB version with the 7700 HQ and spend the extra more to get the better performance, a lot better performance, actually more like 62% better performance, and the new Kaby Lake processor. So in summary, the Alienware 17R4 offers desktop class performance. So you're getting essentially the same performance as the GTX 1060 6GB desktop version, and it's significantly better than the 970M. It has double the frame buffer, so you'll be able to max out games going into the next couple of years, where the 970M 3GB, it has already tapped out in terms of graphics video memory, and in performance it's slightly degrading. And it says it offers 60% more performance. You could use that for the next couple of years. Another significant advantage this has over other laptop manufacturers is that Alienware offers the graphics amplifier. So you'll be able to put in, let's say, a Volta GPU that's going to come out next year or later this year, depending on the rumors. You could put that in and plug into your Alienware amplifier, graphics amplifier, and hook that up to this Alienware 17R4 laptop, and you'd get instant upgrade in terms of graphics performance. Not only that, this offers upgradable battery, and that's an important feature because trust me, the battery degrades over time, and just by removing your laptop from one room to another, the battery could die if you use it long enough. So with that being said, you could get the upgradable. It's much easier to upgrade the battery in the Alienware 17R4 as opposed to the G752 VT, which is pretty much as a fixed battery. It's going to be pretty difficult to get that battery out and replaced. Now the cons is that the screen quality is not as good as the G752 VT. The Asus ROG laptops has top-notch screen quality, very good contrast, bright, and for that reason, I'm going to have to give this score. I'm going to have to drop 0.5 points off the score, and it's mainly because of that the screen quality is not as good, and the matte finish in the Alienware 17R series a bit too much. So under white screen, let's say the Google main screen or anywhere there's a white spot, you could still see a little bit of graininess due to the overexposed matte finish, and Alienware could have toned that down a bit. It's not that much annoying. You do get used to it, but that's something to consider. Where the G752 VT is crystal clear, um, so it would have been better if they did not add that extra overexposition of the screen in terms of the matte finish. So it would be much better if they hadn't made it more a little bit subtle. And the last but not least is a no gimme, and that's it's just a bit expensive. So um, me personally, is worth the $200 or so extra, 150 $200 extra to get the Alienware, because you get the you could have the upgradable graphics option. It runs up to 10% cooler and up to 5% on the CPU side and up to 5% cooler on the GPU side. So for that reason alone, I'd spend the extra 150 or $200 getting the Alienware 17R4. As the saying goes, you get what you pay for. This is like the Alienware basically is like the Lamborghini Aventador of the gaming laptop world. I mean, it's very slick, excellent performance, excellent cooling, pretty decent screens, pretty decent skin. Maybe not as best as compared to the Asus ROG, but it's enough to get you by. So my final score for this laptop is going to be 9 out of 10. So I'm going to be putting all the benchmarks on our site. You could follow from the link below the video, so you can go over the benchmarks again. So I hope you have enjoyed this video. Hopefully it wasn't too long. I tried to be as thorough as possible. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you and have a great day.